Hi, everyone, and welcome. We're so excited to be back with you again. We know it's been a while, but today we have a great guest speaker with us, and we'll go ahead and let him introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. I'm the third Alema. My name is Alema III Fitisemanu. I'm just a recent grad of Stanford University. I completed my BS in Science, Technology, and Society, and I completed my minor in art practice. And really my focus for my undergrad education was in human-computer interaction. So basically design of like any app or a web interface. That's the kind of realm that I'm in. But yeah, I'm here zooming from Stanford University. My wife is completing her thesis in East Asian Studies. And yeah, we'll be here for the summer. Thanks for having me.
Wonderful, Alema. Well, the whole reason we were excited to bring you on board is that Alema actually applied as a non-student athlete, right? And this is kind of unusual coming from our Polynesian community, where the majority of young men are applying as, athletes looking to get scholarships, especially for some elite colleges. Why was it that you chose to go this route?
Yeah, so I guess in high school, I also did athletics. I was a swimmer and I also did water polo. And I was looking to go to school, or it was an option to pursue athletics in college. But really, it was my academics that were the strongest in high school. And so looking at my different options for colleges, if I really tried hard to, I could probably walk on to the swim team. And if I really gave a lot of effort to that, I could pursue that. But going onto Stanford campus and just learning about all the different opportunities that there were outside of being in sports, I was just a lot more, attracted to that, research and work opportunities and professional internships and stuff like that. A lot of that you can't really do if you're in practice, or if you're having to go to all these trainings and meetings for your team and everything. It kind of takes up a lot of time. So when approaching Stanford, I did consider doing sports, but when I got in with my academic side, I kind of understood that, wow, there's so much other stuff I wanted to do rather than to do a sport. I still kept up with exercise and stuff like that on campus. It was a little weird working out just by yourself instead of with the whole team. But I think yeah, you kind of have to define for yourself what was important for you. And so I really went to do research at all the different labs and stuff. I really like doing that. And then also just preparing for the professional world after graduation. Every summer I had the opportunity to go for computer science and tech design internships throughout the summer. And that really helped me to set me up for what I want to do now, which is more entrepreneurship, startup stuff. But I kind of noticed with a lot of my friends, who are athletes, they're tied up in a lot of meetings and a lot of certain diets and stuff like that, and certain eating periods. Whereas me not being a student athlete, I can have more flexibility with my summers, with my weekends and stuff like that. And I like that more than going for athletics.
Okay. So interestingly enough, you did play sports in high school. Did you think the only way you could get to an elite college was to play sports? When did you figure out that you didn't actually need a sport to get into college, or to get a scholarship, I should say, or funding?
Well, I guess growing up all the way until high school, I feel I liked playing sports. I liked swimming, doing water polo. And then I feel it was around junior year of high school, or sophomore year of high school, when we really started thinking or considering different colleges. I would see my friends and what they were doing academically, and I was kind of doing the same thing, and they're looking for other colleges. And so I kind of started to understand you don't really need to swim for college. There's also merit scholarships. There's also just financial aid outside of the scholarship. And we met that need. And so like, I feel like that's when it started to open up that like, oh, like, although I enjoy sports, I don't have to, that's not the only thing that I have to do. Yeah.
So really it's just you figuring out that you didn't need sports to get funding to go to school is what you're saying. You kind of acquired that knowledge with those that were around you that were looking at merit scholarships or some other funding to go to school. And I remember actually we went to, it was like a powwow with all these big colleges. I think Harvard was there, Stanford was there, Georgetown.
It was like an information meeting.
Yeah. And that's when the light turned on for me. I sat there with you and your sister Sala, and it was like, you can get these major colleges for cheaper than community college. And I was like, what are they saying? You know, because tuition is astronomical, right? At these elite colleges versus your community college. But they were saying that because there's so much funding out there, and they weren't even talking sports or scholarship, just get into school and we'll take care of it, basically. And so I think you're right. It was us having that awareness that you didn't have to go on a sports scholarship to actually get school paid for.
You went to school. You started elementary school where? Where'd you go to school?
Sorry, elementary school in California, right?
And then what year? Then you went to the next school. Where was that?
Guess I was Pesengafo in Samoa.
How old were you
then? 7.
7. And then you went to school where?
And then we went to school at Samoa Primary School.
Samoa Primary. How old were you then?
Maybe like 10, 9.
Okay.
Right.
And then what was the next school you went to?
And then we went to Pesenga Church College for a little bit, and then we moved to Arizona, where we went to Akimal Middle School from Samoa.
That's right. So straight from Samoa. Your 6th grade, you started at Akimal Middle School? Okay, so you finished Akimal. What high school did you go to?
And then I started, I did my freshman and sophomore year at Desert Vista High School in Arizona.
And this is where you
then we moved to Northern California.
That's where you picked up swimming and water polo.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then right after Desert Vista, where'd you go?
After Desert Vista, for my junior year of high school, we moved to Ukiah, Northern California. I went to Ukiah High School and then did swimming and water polo there too. And then we moved to Utah for my senior year. My senior year went to Lone Peak High School and then finished up swimming there too.
And I gotta mention that. So that's your history, right? And you're coming with all these different perspectives, learning from all these different schools, different countries, different states. You know, when you're trying to formalize an opinion about, okay, what school I want to go to, what college I want to go to, when did that start to make you start thinking about things? I think you kind of mentioned it earlier when you saw some of your classmates, you know, pointing towards some of these schools.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think or in like freshman year, sophomore year of high school, like I really kept up in my classes and stuff, and like just tried really hard in the academic side. But I think it was really in like my junior year of high school where I saw like all my other friends like applying to like East Coast schools and like the West Coast and like these Ivy League schools, and talking about like the funding that you can get like through like Questbridge or like the Gates Millennium Scholarship, or like these really basically like full tickets for paying for like all of your schooling. And then that's when I started to be like really become like more aware, and then just like more motivated and detailed in like what I wanted to get from all these different programs. And so probably junior year was when I started looking.
So who would have known that you're learning all these things? Of course, Desert Vista is a metropolitan, high school right in the middle of Phoenix, lots of resources, right? But you're coming from Samoa and then going out to Northern California, Ukiah, very remote places with not too much population, these rural areas. But you were able to identify the resources that are possible.
I'm glad you bring that to light, Alema, because I feel like it helps our viewers out there understand that you don't have to grow up in the city to think that only these kids are good enough, right, to go to elite college. I mean, you're talking about Samoa, who didn't really, they don't have the means in which to provide computers for everyone, right? So they're behind, and yet you're graduating what in computers at Stanford. That learning curve had to happen somewhere, but it can happen, I guess, is what I'm trying to bring to light. Talk to us a little bit about when you got accepted to Stanford. What was the reaction that the majority of people, would give you?
Yeah. Well, I think personally, my reaction, I was just like, oh shoot, this is crazy. I was just so happy, and you two were both very happy, and there's lots of tears and stuff. I think we just understood the gravity of not having to graduate with student debt and stuff like that, and we could be able to afford it. And so for us and our family, it was very special, and made sense with everything that we put into the application and everything. But so I had my senior year at Lone Peak High School, and I think even before I got in, people were just Alema's applying to Stanford, Alema's applying to all these other schools. He was what do you mean you're applying to Stanford? I was I'm applying. I put in my application. I didn't need your permission to ask you if I should apply.
But you're right, Alema. Some people, right? We have a certain image of someone who goes to Stanford, and people might look sideways and go, wait a second, you could go to Stanford? I certainly couldn't pay for your Stanford education, right? Where we were, but yet you aspire beyond your means, your family's means. And so I got to hand it to you for doing that, because honestly, Dad and I, we weren't thinking Stanford, son. At that stage of the game, we're just maybe BYU, right? BYU's a great school, and certainly, the cost is a lot less. But, and this is what I feel a lot of parents do. They're you can't go there because we're not there yet. In our minds, we're not there. Yeah. In our budgets, we're not there.
It's people's own limitations on themselves that they try to put on other people. And it's almost how dare you apply to Stanford? We don't go to Stanford. We go to BYU.
We're not Stanford people.
But I should say that, you mentioned it earlier, just to reemphasize, you pretty much took the attitude of, I don't need anybody's permission to follow my dreams, right? I don't need your permission. And that's the mindset, right? That's the mindset outside of just getting a formal education, outside of backing yourself. It's a mindset to reach for something that you've had an eye on, studied for a while. You've gone to informational meetings before, you've visited campuses, all this stuff during that junior year, and then senior year as well. And then you just pretty much made up your mind. You chose Stanford, and Stanford's going to give my best shot. We'll see what happens. And then when you press submit, what were your feelings when you pressed submit?
I guess my feelings are just I was just very proud of what I put together. I think, after visiting Stanford and being on campus and kind of getting a feel of what it felt like, I was this is a place where I feel I could succeed and be good. So putting together my application, I tried to pinpoint everything. So once it came together, it was all it could be as successful as it could be. And so, yeah, I guess just very proud and like kind of nervous because you never know like what will happen, but just proud that you made it this far, I think. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I got to hand it to you, Alema. You know, we weren't part of that application process. I remember that summer was your summer of your junior year, right? Going into your senior year. And I remember the weight that was on your shoulders. Like, you're like, Mom, I got to do this summer. And you were just like locked in your room in the basement. And you're just like figuring it out all on your own because Mom didn't know. And certainly we had, you know, other kids in our families that we're trying to deal with.
And you did it early action. Huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I remember just like reading like web page after web page after web page, like just like every like note at the bottom of the web page, just like, if you need this information, go here. And there's like 5 different links, and checking every single link to make sure that like, not that like it could be right, that it could not be wrong, is that like
that's right,
all the different information. So yeah. So I feel like yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about that application process. Now, when you were applying, what were some of the key things that you felt you really had to spend some time on to put that application together?
Yeah, I think, or just generally giving yourself time to like go over things more than once. So like giving a first run through, like just go through the whole application, just say like, oh, like go through all the different pages to say like, oh, this is how much I actually have to do. And so you're not surprised at the end of it that you have to keep doing more. So getting a general
you had to
idea,
keep doing
then,
more.
Like, yeah, because you have to, there's like, you want to know like how many essays you're like pacing yourself with, like you want to know like how many, so you're not like, you don't spend all your time on one and then get to the deadline and just say like, oh shoot, I just have to like shoot off the hip for like these 2. You want to kind of put it all together and make sure it all flows and everything.
Sounds like you started pretty early
like,
in the year.
Yeah. I think I started like really early because like once I heard like junior year that like, or I started hearing from my friends, like a lot of my friends were seniors, so they were going through it all. So I kind of just like kept my ear out for like, heard like what their timelines were. And then like once it was like my turn, I was just like, okay, I'm starting early so I can like just not be like stressed for time at the end of it. But yeah, definitely giving time more to like the essays, your personal statement, and giving time for like your people who are writing your letters of recommendation to really write a solid letter, kind of like talking to them about it, like what you liked in their class and stuff like that, so that they can include it, and so they're not mad at you for like having to do a letter like overnight or something. Yeah, last minute.
So giving yourself plenty of time. Let me ask you this question. How did you settle on a message for your personal essay? Well, what did you go through to like, okay, this is the one I want out of these options? And then how did you do all
that? I guess like first step, like I kind of just read all the different like frequently asked questions on the website for like what makes a good personal statement. I feel like those help me just to get over the major pitfalls. It's like the personal statement is about you, like not your grandpa, not your mom. It's like you, like what your experiences are. And then like after going over that, just like really kind of like reflecting over like my past experiences or like my life to see like which experiences seem like most poignant or like most like meaningful in this moment that I should share.
I want to echo what you said. You know, don't tell them what you think they want to hear. You have to be authentic, right? Because it's going to come through in that essay about you. So I'm so glad you brought that to light. It's not about your grandfather, your parents. It's about you. And if I remember correctly, and I don't know if this is right, so maybe you can confirm, but you know, you had a lot of experiences to choose from, but I thought I heard you may have written your essay about probably the least impactful thing you did growing up, which was finishing your season of football. Was that right?
I think that I forget if that was my personal statement or like another like supplemental essay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So why did you choose that scenario to talk about?
I feel like possibly because like that was one of like my memories that hurt the most.
There you go.
Yeah.
Why did it hurt the most, Lima?
And there's that. And why did you choose it to share with us in the application?
Yeah, I guess basically for context, like it was the one season of football that like dad forced me to complete.
What? Your parents forced you?
They forced me the one time, and I've never played football again. But I think so. Like I was describing like a specific moment where like we're in Arizona and it's like 110 degrees outside, and like we're running hills, and I like hated it.
I wonder why.
And then and at one point in time, like I'm like face down, like in the grass, like crying, and then like I don't know. I just remember like telling my body like to get up and to like keep going, and I feel like at that moment it was just about like summoning some sort of like energy to like get past this like physical, I guess, like trial. But I feel like I just kind of like related it to kind of like my mindset going into Stanford. Like there's going to be tons more, like a lot more, I guess, like hills to climb in a sense. But yeah, I feel like many times over Stanford, I've had to like summon something out of nothing in a sense to like get through an assignment or to put together like a project or something that, just like tenacity and like resilience and overcoming trials is like, I guess, like a really big skill. Yeah.
Man, I can't emphasize what you just shared enough. That sharing your personal story about a struggle and how you climbed that hill and kept on trying, because, you know, when they admit you to these great universities, they admit you to graduate. They don't admit you just to get you in. And so maybe that was your chance to share just how tenacious you were at that age and how you're going to take that to that campus. Because we're in the business of helping kids get admitted, right? And sharing those types of experiences is key, because sometimes they feel like they got to shine like everybody else and just tell a story that's all, you know,
rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah. and they're not sharing anything of worth, meaning a struggle that they learned from, you know, it could be a personal, something that happened. And, you know, a lot of people, we have to discourage them. Don't write. They're not all about the good stuff.
Don't sugarcoat those defining moments that really bring to light your grit, you know. And I love that I can almost
feel your emotion right now of just how you know big of a struggle that was.
That 110 degree heat, man, we're feeling it, Lima. So I'm glad you mentioned football, because it seems as though when people heard that you got into Stanford, they were asking you what position you played. Was that not the case in some areas? Yeah.
No, yeah, like I guess like once we moved to Utah, like all our like I guess like non-nuclear family members were like, oh, like what are you gonna play, or like what position are you gonna play, or something like that. And we're like, oh no, I'm not playing at all, really. Just there for like academics, I'll just be like a regular student, and they're like, what? They're like, you're smart. I was like, yeah.
You bet.
I love it. You're smart. You're smart. This is awesome. But you know what, Alema? There's a lot of our kids out there that are like you. They are smart, but we have to share with them that there is a way that they can embrace that about themselves. Many times they don't get a lot of exposure or a lot of accolades, you know, for being smart, but really that's what I'm so grateful for your journey, is because you are kind of building a mindset that we need to cultivate in our community, which is I am actually smart, and yes, I can play sports, but I don't need sports to take me to where I'm going. So talk a little bit about your relationships, your friendships there at Stanford. I know you're associated with a lot of people that do play sports.
Yeah. So yeah, like I guess like all my best friends are on the football team. So yeah, Houston and Gabe and Lo and Lavani and them. Yeah, they're all full-time football players, and like we always find time to like hang out on the weekends and like go to church and just have game nights at each other's apartments. So yeah, they've been like a core group of friends that have always been there for me, and we're there at the wedding, at my wedding too.
That's right. You and Maili, you guys both were attending Stanford at that time. You met there, and you got married in Hawaii, and they all kind of followed you down there. So kind of compare and contrast for us. How was your journey different from theirs? A non-student athlete versus a student athlete.
Yeah, I guess like going in the same line of like friends. So like I was able to have them as like a core group of friends that I would hang out with on the weekends, but I actually have like a lot of like different friend groups. So I had friends in like my human computer interaction courses. I had friends that went sailing with me on like Stanford at Sea. Like I had friends in like the Polynesian and the Native community. Like I had a lot. I would say like my friend groups were like very like widely dispersed, but I had like a core group of friends that I would hang out with. But like I had really good friends in like other, like many different like academic departments, like clubs, everything's, and they were all like non-athletes. And so like they were all involved in research. They were involved in campus activism, all that sorts of stuff. So I feel like that's kind of a difference, is that like when you're an athlete, it seems like you're always with the same group of people, like your team basically, and like you're doing like your sport and everything. And sometimes that can leave you like with just like little incentive or like little time to like branch out and to see like other aspects of like campus and stuff like that, or like other social groups. So I feel like that's a consideration to have. Also like your time is like, again, like more tied up. Like they couldn't do summer internships because they had to do football camp during the summer. They couldn't go on Stanford at Sea or do like study abroad because they need to be on campus to train. And yeah, they didn't have a lot of time to participate in like a lot of the like Native community events because they were like playing games on the weekend or something like that. So I feel like that's just a reality that you have to consider going into college, is that you'll make really good friends with your fellow teammates, but it might not get the breadth of like different like backgrounds as like maybe not playing sports would have. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, you know, when you're deciding, you made a decision, and it was before you got to Stanford, that you're going to be leaving the athlete route, and I'm going to try out. At some point you had decided that. When did that happen for you?
The schools that I was like guaranteed an athletic scholarship towards, like they didn't really have the programs that I wanted, and like Stanford had the programs that I wanted. And then once I decided on Stanford, like I understood that like I could still get funding without being an athlete and have that freedom regardless. And so then I just chose, I guess like, yeah, going over financial aid stuff, like I just chose the non-athlete route because I could still get funded fine, like they were, but have the freedom of not being an athlete. Yeah.
So that happened. Did that happen junior year, senior year, or?
I think that was more towards senior year. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna jump in there, Alema, because I remember you went to the state championship, right? The state swim meet, right?
You had a great
that was your
swimming career and a notable
we're the fastest relay in the state.
Yeah. And I remember, everyone was just like, man, Alema, this is so awesome. You're the swimmer, this athlete. They're calling you Fins because his feet are like size 15. But it really surprised, your coach, I think. I remember when I was talking to him after that meet, like, Alema's not going to swim in college. And he's like, what? This kid who's reached this caliber is not swimming in college. Like, why? And I think you can vouch, in high school, it was very strenuous, especially the sport of swimming, not to take away from anyone else's sport. But I remember you going to practice at 6 a.m, and then going to school. And then after you had practice too, and then just trying to keep up all the calories that you would burn. I think during the summertime, you're up to like 9,000 calories just to replenish all the calories that you were burning. And then also the pressure, right, of maintaining a high GPA and then, doing all this work with applications, and it's a lot. So I get why you're like, man, if I'm really focused on going to college to actually learn a trade or a career, why would I need to juggle so much, with athletics? So I really thought it was brave of you, because most kids and families too, they put all their eggs in one basket and they're like, no, Alema, you're a swimmer and you're going to go to the school that takes you as a swimmer, versus saying, well, actually, Alema, you can choose and you get funding for making lots of different choices. And that's the kind of mindset we're trying to bridge with our communities, that parents don't limit the kids to just all football or all sports, because there's actually opportunities over here. And if, like yourself, you're great at academics, man, it could really afford you the luxury to explore and create this new identity, right? Of you having different friend groups, of you liking different things, of you going to Stanford at Sea, of you working in internships. I mean, your first summer, your freshman year, you're working at Nokia. Like, Dad and I were just floored, right? How did that work out for you?
That was sweet. I think it's just been a common theme of like, just not asking permission, just go and do it. Because freshman year, I was looking for like a tech internship like everybody else in CS at Stanford does. And like, I was like, Nokia, like they seem like they have like some options, and you gotta kind of be strategic about it. Like if you're trying to go for Facebook and Instagram, like right after freshman year, like that's a talk about slim chances. That's a slim chance. It's even more like internships are kind of like even more competitive to get into than like schools, because schools accept like 4%. Like they're accepting like 1 out of 5,000 applicants. And so that's like 1 in 5,000, like you're talking about chances. And so like Nokia, like everyone kind of knows it as like the dated company and everything. And so like, it's not as sexy as like Instagram or Google Facebook or anything.
I thought it was pretty sexy when I went there and I saw your office and all your little sleeping pods and all the refreshments there and the ping pong table. I was like, whoa, this guy's making it.
No, yeah. So like, but it's still like, they still do like billions of dollars in revenue like every year. So like going like, and after freshman year, it's like, what experience do I have? Like, I just got here.
Freshmen so don't get those meeting, kind of like internships, huh?
No, they don't. And so like, like after, like, I remember going to like an info session, and then like online, they say like, oh, 30 people are RSVP'd. And so I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I go to the info session. There's only like 5 of us there that actually show up to the internship like meeting. And then like the CEO was like sitting right there. And then I was like,
oh my goodness.
Nice to meet you. My name's Alema.
Show up. There you go. Show up, guys.
Yeah, I feel like there's a just like something to be said of like actually showing up, because lots of people say that they're gonna show up, but like 10% actually are actually like in the door, like sitting down. And so those are the people that are going to be chosen from. And then all the freshmen there that were there, we all got internships. Like we all said like, hey, like we're interested in doing this kind of stuff. And then like the head of technology was like, okay, here's my number. I'm gonna get back to you like tomorrow. And then there's like, sweet, your boy got
that is phenomenal, Alema, just for showing up, right? Cool. So that was your freshman year. Talk about your sophomore year. Was there an opportunity for you to do something this summer?
Yeah, so I guess like spring quarter of my sophomore year, or last quarter of the year, kind of like almost like getting into summer, I participated in a program called Stanford At Sea, which is where Stanford takes, like, I guess it's a group of like 20 students, and it's really kind of selective to get in. Like hundreds of people apply that are also Stanford students to get into this program, and only like 20 are accepted. And so they take 20 of us. Basically in my application, I said like, this is my home, and if anyone should be on this program, it should be me. And they said, okay, all right. And they just accepted me. I was like, thank you. I just gotta, yeah.
Wow.
Because like, yeah. So like at Stanford, like there's lots of like, you know, really like smart kids, but like no one knows the Pacific better than us, right? And so if you want somebody to be a resource on that program for your other students, it should be the Pacific Islanders going on this trip.
I love that.
So, yeah. And so basically, so they get those 20 students, they take them to like the Hopkins Marine Station for 6 weeks. And we do like training and classes on sailing and everything. And then for the last 6 weeks, we were flown to Tahiti first. And then we sailed from Tahiti to Rarotonga in the Cook Islands, and then to Palmerston Atoll. Then we sailed to Tongatapu, then to Vava'u, and then we ended in American Samoa. And so over 6 weeks, we did a sailing track all throughout the South Pacific.
That is incredible. And you got credit for that, right?
Oceanographic research. Yeah, I got 16 units of credit. And I got an A- all 16 units.
Oh man!
All 16 Stanford credit units is like A-. That is incredible. You know, I remember watching the film that, you know, your auntie was putting together. She was doing a clip, right, for the news station down there in Tonga. And I just remember you talking to, it must have been close to 800 students, right, from Liahona College, all lined up, all wearing uniforms. Did it kind of bring you back to the days of Pesenga in Samoa?
No, yeah, definitely. I felt like, yeah, it was kind of like one of those moments where like it all kind of comes full circle. Where you kind of start like sitting down and like your and everything, and then your uniform, like watching other people come speak, and now you're the person speaking.
That is wild. Really crazy. But you know what? You say you come full circle, and who better to tell that story, like you're saying, than one of our own? Who better to tell them, I was in your shoes, you can be here too. Like, there is no reason for this not to happen if you really want it to happen in your life. I really appreciate that message you brought, because that's kind of the reason why, you know, Dad and I are doing this work, is who better to share this than our own people, to show that our own people can actually do this. So I'm really grateful for that.
It's like, yes, like you come here to Stanford to learn and to like learn from Stanford, and there's lots of things that you take in, but also like a big reason why Stanford is bringing you here is because they want you to teach Stanford something. And so it's not just like you're taking in stuff, but you're expected to contribute and to change and like to critique the university. And so like going on the Stanford At Sea trip, like they've never had a Pacific Islander on the trip before. And then with me and Auntie organizing all the stuff to Liahona, like, and them seeing me talk to the students and like engaging with the community and stuff, like they've never seen that before. Like Stanford has never done that. They've never even been close to engaging the community in such a way that like activated like a whole group of 800 people. Like they're saying like, man, you had them in like the palm of your hand. Like they were just laughing at everything you had to say. Like they were just like enjoying it so much. And like Auntie was like, and you're on the news and everything. But Stanford would have never had that if I hadn't like been there, or another Pacific Islander had been there to facilitate that. And so I feel like that's exciting for new generations, is that like Stanford is not expecting to be the same Stanford after you're graduated. There should be some sort of change to be better. I feel like that's what motivated a lot of like our activism on campus with like funding and like the Mauna Kea movement and everything. And we created new clubs and organizations. Like it's not just you're taking in everything that Stanford's the pro and you're learning. It's just like, yes, there's lots of things that you've come here to learn, but Stanford could have never understood like what living in Samoa is like. They could have never understood what being a part of your community is like. And so connecting those things is like it's a big and daunting task, but it's also one that like, if you feel like motivated and I guess like a moral stance to like make the university better, it'll require that of you on top of your classes. So like a lot of like our PI students here at Stanford, it's like, yes, we're here, like we're doing Stanford, like we're exceeding in all of our classes, but on top of that, we're trying to change the university, get PI faculty be hired, like be addressing issues in classes. Like there's just so much more, I guess, that like POC college students or like low income college students like have to change about these things. Yes. And so to think that it's a simple thing coming to Stanford, it's not simple, but it's worth it that you continue to like enact change and have that effort. But yeah, some students feel it or don't feel it because like they're rich, they're white, they have everything, like they're used to this kind of stuff. But like once you come to a university that's really for like rich white people, like it becomes like a whole nother set of classes to like change things and make it better for others. And so yeah, just letting people know that like when they come to Stanford, expect to learn, but also expect to change stuff too for the better. So yeah.
This is why we're needed on these campuses, you know, because we are underrepresented. Who is going to represent for us? Not those other groups. Guess what?
No one's going to represent for you.
Hello.
Yeah.
You know, so what you're saying is you gave them access not only to being there with your family and the community, but really it's like what will work for our people. We have to help figure that out. We have to help them understand it because through their lens, they only get a fraction of what the real issues are. So if we're not voicing our opinion, if we're not saying, hey, no, that's not really what it is, it's actually this, they're solving the wrong problems, right? So thank you, son, for taking that initiative because it is exhausting emotionally, physically, you know, to not only, hey, I just want to be there and get my grade and go, right? But you're like, hey, actually, I'm here not only to learn, but to help and to make it better for the next, you know, kids from our community to have a better space there.
I'm sure.
So thank you.
With your efforts, you've made some big spaces available for the next kid to come through and feel that belongingness, you know, there on Stanford. So appreciate your efforts. I'm so glad you brought that point up. You know, when we talk about applications and admissions, we talk about how they want to know.
Yes.
What kind of impact are you gonna bring to our campus? That's such a big question. A lot of people totally miss out on. That, you know, if they were going to admit you, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do on campus? In the 4 years that you're there, before you leave, what kind of impact can you make on our campus? And so, you know, to make that compelling story, these kids will need to think about that a little bit and express themselves appropriately on that personal essay. So keys. Appreciate that a lot. Now that you're done, you're graduating, give me some advice as your best tips. Like, what would you tell your 18-year-old self, right? As they're preparing.
Yeah, that's a great question. What would you tell your 18-year-old self?
I'll say congratulations, you made it.
Oh yes.
Congratulations, you've been accepted. LOL. No, yeah, I think in terms of like applying, I would say start early and be intentional about what you're saying and how you're saying it. But also like give it your 100%, like, yeah, just like a shot put. You just like put everything you got into it. And then, yeah, the result will come, or if it doesn't, like, that's okay too. Like, just adapt and continue to move forward. Yeah, you can cry for a little bit and then like have a good cry and then like, yeah,
get
time to on to the next one. Yeah.
On to the next.
But yeah, in terms of like being in college, like I would say like have fun, like do everything that you can, like really experience and enjoy like the moment and enjoy learning, enjoy like the process of finding what you really want to continue to research and learn about. But also in college is just so much to do. So really be intentional about where you put your energy and your time. You can't do everything. And so you have to pick and choose what's most important to you. And yeah, I would say like, really like a big part of my college experience is like my marriage and like me and Maili. So like, and that takes time too. And so like really value your personal relationships. Like I always tell her, like, I'd rather like, if we need to sort something out or if we need to like have time together and that takes away from like submitting an essay on time, like I would take the late over setting first things first, you know, kind of thing. And like to some people at Stanford, that's just like, what? Like,
yeah. Oh, I can imagine.
You need a 4.0. Like I would, and they sacrifice a lot of things that already kind of make them happy, you know, like they don't see their family or like they don't like go out on the weekends to have like a rest or like to sleep in on a Saturday, like really have a good balance to keep yourself healthy and together, because some people just honestly fall apart. Like I've seen students like just like I've seen a TA just like break down and cry in class, and just like be totally stressed and burnt out. And I'm just like, what's the point in that? Like, I feel like for me, there's always been a stress, or like not a stress, but like an emphasis on my limits about, or because I know I can like do this really well to get an A+ on this assignment, but I'll lose sleep and like I'll lose like mental health over this and stuff like that. So I feel like really being mature about what you're okay with. Like I'm okay with getting a B in this class if it means like I'm a whole person and enjoying my life right now and like still working hard, but and learning, but not to the extent of like of self-destruction, you know? Yeah. So that would be my advice for in college. And then after college, and then after college, I guess it's just like, it just doesn't end there. Like you're continuing to build and to grow after college. And so people think that their first job after college is like it, but you'll have like 11 over your whole career. And so
that's a great point.
It's stepping stones, right? Just take the next step.
People switch, like what you continue to learn new skills after college. You're not just like with your undergrad degree and then that's what you'll be doing for the next 40 years. So it'll be a whole learning thing. And so I feel like, yeah, just keeping open to options and yeah. So that would be my advice.
Nice.
Too cool. That's some golden nuggets right there.
Right. Yeah. Start early, that application, be intentional while you're in school, create that balance. And then afterwards, know that you're forever learning and growing and evolving. So Lima, share with us where you're at right now and what you're doing.
So I never would have thought I would be starting a company, but currently I'm working on an arts tech startup with two other of my Stanford co-founders, Reddy Haig and Reddy Clark. It's called Flare.ai. And it's basically a company that gives people, regular everyday people, art recommendations using artificial intelligence. So we're coming out with an app and a platform soon.
Wow.
And yeah, I'm in a startup. I founded a company. Yeah.
Did you ever think when you applied to Stanford that when you would graduate, you would say, I'm in a startup, I started a company?
No, yeah. Specifically going into Stanford, I said, like, I will never start a company and I will never be the person to do a startup because I'm just like, that's too risky. Like, I don't want to do that.
Yes.
It's like, I'm just here to get the money. And coming out of college, it's just like, yes, like at any point that this does fail, like I could get a 6-figure job right now if I wanted to. But I feel like over Stanford, like you kind of like think of like, oh, this is something that I'd like to change in the world, or like, this is something that I feel like isn't working well and it could be so much better for everybody else. And then once you find people that have that same like motivation, linking up together, and they were just like, hey, you want to start a company about it? And it's like, sure, I guess. Yeah.
Focusing on the problem, right? You entrepreneurs. I remember interviewing you probably after sophomore year. And I said, hey, what are you thinking about maybe, starting a company? I think that's what I asked you. And you emphatically said, oh, I hate dealing with people, and I don't want to lead people. I'm tired of those, if they don't do what I say, stuff like that. And then I said, in my own mind, I was going, oh, okay, we'll see. As you learn to master some of these other skills, right? And then you see that you actually have capacity to take on a little bit more responsibilities. And then as you're declaring yourself an entrepreneur, that for sure you're going to lead people. And it's all about relationships, right? You're going to be asking people to do things so that when you can turn your back and do other things, right? And so that's the aspect I was giggling about when you said when you declared that I'm an entrepreneur,
Yes.
Not only is it exciting and fulfilling, man, your reach is so much more when you decide to be an entrepreneur. I feel you're able to be exposed to more friends and more people to help.
And really, Alema, it was me and your grandmother, right? We took you to Stanford and we checked you in and we took the tour, and it was like amazing. I mean, the campus is beautiful. The people are beautiful. The weather is beautiful. It's a Hollywood set over there. And I got this impression like, Alema, you just got the golden ticket, man. Charlie in the Chocolate Factory, the poor kid, he could barely even buy a candy bar, and he opened that candy bar to eat it. And it was like, there was that ticket. And I felt like when we were on that campus at Stanford, you had the opportunity to go wherever your imagination took you. You were only limited to your imagination because they showed you how startups happen in a garage. They showed you how one idea blossoms into, a huge service
like
and products.
Like stripes on a soldier's shoulder, right?
Yeah.
Those entrepreneurs all want to be able to say, yeah, we started in a garage.
You know, and it's like, yes, you get to the point where you make bazillion dollars, but really it was the heart of it all, you know, where it all started. And so I love Stanford, what it did for you, because not only did it give you the opportunity, but it gave you the mindset. And if anything we've learned, I think from this interview is you don't need permission, you know, you don't need permission from mom and dad, from your community, even from your old mindset that says you're not good enough, you don't belong here. Who are you to think that you can apply to Stanford? So
congrats to you, man.
Yes, congrats, Alema. Thank you for sharing your journey with our viewers today. We want to wish you well and appreciate all the support you've received from Stanford, from your family, from your good friends there. I want to wish you well.
Manuia.
Manuia.